All right, now we're good. Now we're cooking. All right, we are centered. We've got the AirPods. We got the mic. People ask, it's this little blue Shure mic or whatever it's called. It's not Shure. I don't know. It's blue, BLUE. It's like 40, 50 bucks or something like that. So whoever asked, that's the answer. It's the blue Snowball. That's what it is. My dad's popping in saying, good afternoon, sir. What's up, Pops? How you doing? The kitchen should be done. Maybe, right? What's up, Tim? Congrats on your 12K deal. What's up, marketing with Abraham, Hamza, Miro, Jared Guy, all that stuff. Jared Guy says, how many trees do we need to plant to offset our PJ, our private jet? Do you cover that in your program? That interview was fucking crazy, dude. Like, I watched the first half of it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I was watching and listening and doing some other stuff, and I tune in every now and then. And it's like human trafficking, okay? Like, I fly so much for my private jet, I need to plant trees. What the fuck? And it's like, fuck happiness. No, fuck your suffering. And then like, Alex, you need to smile more. Like, oh my God, dude. Like, I will tell you that my personal goal has become so wildly wealthy. I can speak like that and people still think I'm a big deal, right? It was just so wild to like see the disjointed stream of consciousness as a stark contrast to what we've seen and experienced from both of those people pretty consistently. It was, I was laughing. I was laughing so much I talked about it on IG. I thought it was so fucking funny. It was pretty fucking interesting. I think what I will do is I'll take that transcript on a ChatGPT and have some interaction with it and say, based upon like what you know about me, like what should I do based upon this interview? I was probably going to say fuck happiness and get a private jet and buy some trees or some shit. It was pretty interesting. Some interesting wins as well. Over the past week or so, we've had somebody sell their marketing business for $400,000 in less than 90 days. He says 90 days, I say 120, but this guy started while he was in my program, did the things, and now, 400 grand. And I think the biggest reason why they acqui-hired him was because he knew how to like run a team, talk KPIs, get stuff done, not be overwhelmed, not be distracted, very COO style work. And I also think the guy who ended up buying him, or the company that did buy him, were thinking about buying him or hiring him. And then this fella went on a 4-month training sprint or skills sprint to kind of prove that it could work. And then when they went and said like, all right, we're ready to hire you, he's like, well, I got options now. And then, they said, all right, well, how much does it cost? $400,000, right? So it's equivalent of like a signing bonus, I guess, that exists because he had those options, which I think is like a very interesting take on like the power of generating your own deals, which is interesting. We also had somebody hit $1 million a month. $1 million in 21 days, which is cool. We had another client turn $1,600 of ad spend into $11,600 cash collected and $41,000 of revenue. I felt like it was important to talk about both because, you can get 8X on the front end, but 40X on the back end, but maybe they don't finish, they're signing contracts, but who the fuck knows? We had somebody get a 12K deal. Somebody signed a $100,000 a month contract, which is wild. So here's the details on that. It's 30K this month, 60K the month after that, then 100K a month after that, and 100K a month every month for 12 months. Crazy. Fucking crazy, right? We had a client do $10,800 in a day. And then I had a reel go viral because I talked about my favorite Kim Kardashian character, Wes Watson. And went viral, got 119,000 views and a buttload of comments. What's interesting about a lot of those comments is many people believe that the words they type are worth reading. And I believe that they are incorrect. I'll say it again. Many people believe the words they type are worth reading, and they are incorrect. And if you are curious about what that means, I would just go to that reel and see what the internet is like. It is interesting. Very interesting for sure. And then some other wins along the path. Client to $1,000 a day, 11K a day. Somebody getting $80 booked appointments. Just normal levels of success. And as I am in the game of making money and sales, if you are interested in our Done With You or Done With You program, our Done With You or Done For You program, you should message me. We'll talk pricing and fit and all that. And if it turns out it's an easy yes for you, cool. And we can do it without a sales call. It's also super fun. So again, if you're interested in any of those kinds of results, just message me and we'll talk shop. And with that said, let's see what we want to go over today. I'm going to open up Instagram chat and then see if there's any comments. We'll take it from there. Built by Brandon says, you love Wes Watson, my man. Yeah, he does represent the part of my brain that just wants to be so extreme, like just so wildly out there. And then the rest of my brain is like, you have impulse control. What the fuck are you doing, right? But it's a good physical manifestation of a fantasy, right? That shouldn't be like real, but it's super fun. Somebody says building ascension funnels for health and coaching and education. Any tips on ad angles? We could go over that. Yeah. Richard says, how's it doing with retention and team? What top things you need to do? How is it with retention of team? That's interesting. May want to talk about this today. Richard, if you're still watching, can you give me more details or kind of reword it a bit? Because this could be a long 20, 30-minute sesh. And if I do the 20, 30-minute sesh in the wrong direction, how useless is that, right? So if you're still watching it, give me some details on that. And then, we'll see. And I wish I could see if you're still watching it, but Facebook doesn't let me see who is watching anymore. So too bad, right? And Marie says, what strategy is this? Just the IG funnel? Yeah, the interesting challenge with this sentence, Marie, is that how did Arnold Schwarzenegger become so wildly successful in his fitness and movie career, right? Well, if I just had one sentence, I would say he would eat correctly, work out a lot, do a little bit of and take a lot of acting lessons. That is technically correct, but the details are what matter. So the answer to your question is, most of the business that I refer to is generated through advertisements on IG and Facebook. That is correct. And most of the good buyers will look you up before they even opt in, much less show up to a sales call, much less write you a check, right? Only the dumb people don't do that. So yes, kind of, no, but you know what I'm trying to say. And then Andrew always says, hi, cutie, what's going on, my man? It's always a pleasure. And then Richard says, yes, getting media buyers, account managers post for a couple more dollars per month and incentives. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We'll really talk about that. Richard says, I was paying $5 per media buyer. I'm losing team members at $10. Oh, dude, I pay. Oh, Richard, we're going to deal that shit right now. So there's a guy in my team that I'm interviewing to be VP of fulfillment, effectively a guy that's in charge of my fulfillment. He's probably the same skill set, plus or minus, as me, right? And I said, look, man, spend the next 3 days digging around and I'm going to pay you $2,500 for a 14-day trial. Let's just see if what you're doing and how you're doing, if the clients like you, if the results are there, all that stuff. Like, let's just do a test run. I'm going to pay you $2,500 for that, right? Assuming that goes well, I want to bring you on for $5,000 to $7,000 a month, right? So, like, immediately, I don't want to say outbidding, but what I'm doing is attracting a better person, right? And what ends up happening, Richard, is the person who's getting $5 an hour is probably not particularly great at their job or very, very green. So they learn new stuff, and guess what? They want more money, et cetera, right? So the challenge here is that the dollars are too low. That's it. I mean, if I could double my salary, of course I would jump ship. You know what I mean? The side effect, Richard, to go a little bit deeper, is there may be two things. One, you may be having your team do too many things or have too many things to do according to your client. So as a general philosophy, the more things you do, the less you get paid. The fewer things you do well, the more you get paid. I'll say it again. The more things you do, the less you get paid. The fewer things you do well, you get paid more, right? And typically, if I'm signing a client and I got to do a lot of stuff, not only do I command less of a price point, but my team feels like they have to do a lot of work. So it's a lot easier to charge, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand for an IG funnel than it is to charge 3 grand for an IG funnel, email, funnel builds, sales training, blank, 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 and blank. Just as a general philosophy, blanket statement. And you may argue with me saying, but Jeff, there are exceptions. I'm talking middle 80%. When somebody says like, hey, Jeff, I want to sell a $30,000 IG funnel, I go, yeah, you could do that. If they say, Jeff, I want to charge 3 grand for the IG funnel, emails, automations, 120-day support, unlimited A/B test and split test, media buying, Google Ads, the whole shebang, they're not going to get it. They're not going to get the 3 grand, much less the 30 grand. And even if they do, the team is going to go, what the fuck? This is like so much work. So those are really two forces. One, obviously somebody's going to jump ship if their salary gets doubled. Two, it sounds like as a hypothesis, there may just be too many things going on. Michael says, I'm about to sign 100K new contract client. That's fantastic, dude. Well done. That makes 2 of you. I need to find help in managing ads, men and Google, not just for this client, but all clients. Would you recommend outsourcing to a white label, hiring qualified outsourced VA, hiring a full-time digital marketer? I would here's the philosophy. I would get a bench of experts, of people that you can say, hey man, I know you're really good at X, Y, Z, 1, 2, and 3. I need a bench of people just like you, each with their specialties. And as necessary, can I hire you hourly to help me work on client contracts or client deals? Most people will say yes. You go back and forth about dollars or something like that, right? And you, as your value add, you're in charge of strategy. You're the head coach, right? And then you can pull in experts, right? So if you're like, hey, for me to get my client results, I need to set up Google Ads. You already have 3 people that you can message saying, hey man, we already talked like 2 months ago. You're on my board of experts. I want to pay you money. Can you send me a Stripe for the $220 an hour that we agreed on? I want to buy 3 hours. We're going to do a Zoom share. You're going to help me set up Google Ads for this client. They're going to go, sure. So now your Google Ads are set up, right? As such, you can continue with each of those processes or steps, right? I think that's one philosophy you may particularly enjoy. The other is I would really recommend against hiring a qualified outsourced VA. I think the people that use that wording and that terminology tend to not be fantastic. I do enjoy hiring experts in their field, people who are very, very good. And if you are signing a $100,000 contract, and let's just say normal business margins are 50%, $50,000 of that should go into some kind of fulfillment, either through your time or somebody else's, right? And so I think having a board of experts is going to help you do that. And I do way less, now that I think about it, on hiring a massively qualified individual person to fulfill the client, because I don't think it's just me one skill. I think your best bet is to have you actually be in charge, like the head strategist, and then you can pull experts in at a pre-agreed upon rate. And I think you'll be very, very, very happy with that setup pretty consistently. That's just kind of my thoughts. And if you have any commentary, you can always comment or something like that. Let's see what other questions we got. Wasim says, how much are you making right now? $75,000 a month cash collected. And if you want to reach $1 million per month, what are the changes or things you need to be focused on? Fantastic fucking question, Wasim. Oh my God, dude. A+. Let us bring out the Canva. My man, Wasim, with the top tier A+ question. I particularly enjoy these, and you hit the nail on the head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it into Canva. And we are going to write stuff down. Let me bring this up. Cool. And let me change this. Cool. And let me share my screen. Share screen, window. Let's keep going. Here we go. All right, cool. So to answer your question, I'm doing $72,000 a month cash collected. If I charged 4 or 5 months upfront, like my contemporaries, I could probably have a much bigger number. And I do not. But if we just compared, right, if I charge $75,000 a month recurring right now, and I charge 5 months upfront, that's going to $375 on January 1st, right? But some part of my brain doesn't really feel like that's fair to say for whatever reason. But my clients do that. So, there you go. Right. So if I want to reach $1 million a month, what changes or things do I need to make? And in typical Jeff fashion, we're going to go and do squares. So let's do this one right here. I'm going to go over the structure to the best of my knowledge of my client that is currently doing $1 million a month. All right. This is a structure we ballparked as some type of benchmark of success probably a year or so ago. And it was entirely theoretical based upon what we knew. Now we're implementing it. Plus the things that I learned from being part of other coaching programs and masterminds over the past 8 years. Plus the learnings that other people that have been part of that I talked to. Right. So here is the thing. Right. So here is we'll call it the coach. And this is for a coaching program, right? So this is the guy or gal that is currently in charge of the clients, keeping them accountable, making them do things, making them get results, making them do the things that they are uncomfortable doing, but still getting it done. This is the guy at the top. This is the coach. Right now, the coach has, let's just say, client number 1, right? And then client number 2. And then client number 3. I will tell you sometimes people get hung up on the idea of what coach means. And you can say client success manager. You could say service provider. You could say the person that is doing the things, right? Sometimes it's a bench of experts. Sometimes it's the ads guy with a strategist with the email support and landing page dude. You know what I mean? This sometimes is multiple people, right? So it could be something like, let's just do, it could look like this. That happens every now and then. Right, so you got like one person here. You got like the head coach does most of the work. Then he's got somebody to do the stuff, right? So that's what I have right now. That's our current setup. It's me and then my admin, and we do work together. Some people will have the head strategist / head coach, and they'll have 2 people doing it. Some people will have, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So this could be a person or this could be a team, whoever's doing the service, right? And then they have clients that they service. Typically, these clients are going through a normal standard process. So it's not a scenario where it's like, oh my God, this is like custom work every time type of thing. Like, no, it's pretty much the same. I don't know how I did that so horribly wrong. Let me select and see if I can adjust this. I want it to look like bad. Also pretty bad, but whatever. Typically, these clients are going through a process, right? So we have the coach, okay? And then we have the process. These are like the 6 steps that all these clients are going through. So they'll have step number 1, and then number 2, and then number 3, and let's just say 4, 5, and 6. Number 4, 5, and then 6. Cool. This process ideally produces them results, hopefully. And depending upon where you are, your process could be different from mine. We have some clients, they do I guess our standard process is we'll do an AI avatar. We'll do awareness articles. Let's do this. And then we have them we get prescriptions for their IG reels, kind of stuff. And then we'll often deploy like I'm looking for ads. Sometimes we'll do lead magnets. Sometimes we'll do, wild card, right? Something like that. But this is your process. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then your head coach will take your clients through this. So for me right now, we have about 30 of these clients going through this process. 27, 28, 29. And as an individual person, this is like a lot, all right? It is a substantial amount of communications. It's doable, but I'm like, my God, like I am sitting in the middle of it, like a lot. And after a while, you kind of start feeling, again, as the service provider, like, geez Louise, like, oh my God, like I like my clients, but also like something's got to break and I don't want that thing to break to be me, right? So after a while, you kind of cap out on this and you go, okay, I need like a way to not constantly have one-on-one conversations, even though they're going through the process and I can check and I can see there's got to be something here that's going to break and I don't want it to be me that breaks. So what we do is we introduce group processes. So this is the individual process. So that we'll call it the client journey. Okay. And then we'll introduce group learnings. And here, sometimes you can introduce group calls where people can get questions answered and stuff like that. So sometimes it could be ads, sometimes it's setting, sometimes it's closing, sometimes it's KPIs. We'll just put that in there. Call it leadership, operations, and then something else, right? So now you introduce group learnings. And again, the format and the steps are you, the individual person, and sometimes you have a team, sometimes you don't. Let's just say that. You, the individual person, will sign clients and you'll hit this like cap. And that cap is going to hit you hard. You're like, fuck, man, I'm just working way too much. This is where you introduce your client journey. You find the commonalities of things. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. As you do that, you can get more clients. And then you hit a cap. You're like, holy fuck, there's like a lot going on. And then you introduce group learnings. So these are like group calls, right? And these, again, are to support or alleviate or remove the workload on the head coach, right? This costs no money. This is just writing stuff down. This costs money. For me, when I hire somebody, I say, look, I'm going to pay you money and work with clients. And what I want you to do is I want you to do a group call once a week on blank. So right now we have me doing ads. We have somebody doing setting / closing. And we have somebody doing, I think it's called lead magnets. Yeah. So we have this taken care of, this taken care of, this taken care of, this taken care of. I got to find 2 people to do this or replace it. But this is like the basic structure, right? Again, you have your coach, you sign clients, and then you figure out your client journey. And and you find the commonalities. And then you figure out your group learnings. And these are group calls where people go to get their questions answered. After a while, this will start to break. And this is where I am. Like at that 30th client, like, fuck, dude. Like, there's a lot going on with Slack today. Jeez Louise, right? So here's what you do. So you take this guy, you take this coach fella, right? And you go ahead and say, cool, I'm going to get another one. You got another coach. Look at that. And now you have 30 more slots available to fill with clients. Not hard, not challenging, not that big of a deal, right? So you'd pay this coach and you'd probably have to take a margin hit or a percentage of cash collected or revenue or something like that. And you'd make some phone calls, reach out to her. And now we're going to say, hey, I'm looking to hire a coach. We're growing and I need some help, right? Somebody will raise their hand and say, I would like some money today. Like, I would like to pay you money. And that's what we're going now when I'm hiring my VP of fulfillment. Another way of saying head coach, right? And now we've got 30 more slots. So I can turn on ads, get more things, and we're off to the races. This coach, by the way, when they need support or when a client needs support, say, hey, just go to the group learnings. Cool, right? As a side note, group learnings is another word for saying the live version of your program or documentation or course area, right? For me right now, I have found that all I really need in my course area is like 2 or 3 hours. That's it, right? Beyond that, people go like, I'm not going to fucking pay attention. You get grindy with them and you're like, why didn't you watch that? Like, why would you give me a program that's too long and all that stuff, right? So client journey, cool. You say like, hey, you have to do this module, do that module. Grand total 3 hours. You all have 90% completion. Everybody's cool. And then you have group calls just like this, and then the coach, and then the head coach. I have a client right now who's doing, who did $1 million a month, January 20th. So he's tracking 1.4, 1.5, right? And he has this model, right? So he just keeps hiring head coaches. That's it, right? And then, he'll do, it's like, hey, I need to hire somebody else. So he hires another head coach. Cool. And then he'll hire another head coach. Cool, right? Head coach's job is to like keep the clients in check, make sure the clients are doing their stuff, get them results, have them do like check-ins and things like that. And they get a percentage of revenue, which is like super fun. And this is the whole module. This is the whole setup. There's nothing significantly that you need to change. All you have to do is improvements. So you can hire better coaches. You can have better calls. You can get better clients, right? But this is the whole structure and the whole setup. That's it. So for me in my journey, I have this and I'm capped out, right? I have, didn't mean to do that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. I have 4 of these and I'm looking to hire this guy. Cool. And again, the improvement, not drastic strategy change, not drastic organization change. The improvement is getting better, right? So I'll hire my VP of fulfillment. He'll probably be better than me. Cool. Clients get better results. Cool. We can charge more money, get more people involved. Awesome. Next thing, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. But Jeff, what kind of ads do I run? You already know the fucking answer, right? You just do testimonials, before and afters, awareness stage advertising. Cool, right? But what if my coaches get overwhelmed, introduce more group learnings, and the client that I'm referring to, I think they have like 16 calls a week. Like it's fucking nuts. There's always a call going on. Jesus Christ, right? That's because he has 6 CSMs. Each one does 2 calls a week. There's 12. See what I mean? And then the owner does 2. There's your 14. Really, really quick, right? But this is the entirety of the setup, the structure, and the module, and how to consistently grow. What's interesting, by the way, is I, as the person on this journey, I'm also working with clients that are trying to hit $1 million a month. And I am finding that a lot of them are hesitant to hire this person. They're very hesitant to do these things. All they could really do right now is take care of their clients and customize each client journey. And that's why they're capped at the number that they're capped at. And when I send a message to my client and they go, hey, I need something from you to hit the $1 million a month, they go, I'm super busy right now. I can get to this later. I go, well, that's the cap, right? Like you have to be willing to move into a painful scenario, AKA less money, uncomfortability, that type of thing. Or take some of your clients and give them to your new CSM, your new account manager, your new head coach, pod coach, whatever it is. And then you'll have a good time. In the consulting game, they were called like head partners or engagement managers, those types of things. But that's the structure. And all you got to do is keep increasing your prices. When the client in question I started working with, they were charging $8K a month, $8K for 4 months. And at that point, when we were starting, it was just him and probably like, I don't want to say 30 clients, but like maybe 10, right? And he had a journey and then there were group calls. That was it. As he got results, he could increase his prices. More people were interested. He would hire a new coach and he experienced challenges and rumblings and he figured it out. And now he charges $30K for 6 months. And then the cycle continues. I believe that this is the structure that grows to $1 million a month. Probably like 80, 90% are directionally correct. There are arguments for, you got to have like a sales team or whatever, right? That's not really covered. We're talking about fulfillment. There's an argument for like, you really need to have weekly check-in forms. Okay, fine. Have the coach do it. You really need to have like group calls with all your CSMs for company-wide learnings. You're right. That's not on here. Some people really get hung up and like you need to do one-on-ones or you need to do in-person events. I go, you're right. Also not on here, right? But that's the structure and that's the setup. And that's ultimately the focus for me in my journey to move from $75,000 a month to $1 million a month. And when I look at my client's numbers, he would hit that. And then 2 months later, he'd go up 30, 40%, 2 months later, 30, 40%, 2 months later, 30, 40%. And that was the movement in the right direction. And that's the whole fucking rotation. And this is more akin, this growth pattern is more akin to weightlifting, going to the gym, and weight loss than it is similar to the excitements of entrepreneurship, than it is to the excitements of a new idea, than it is to the excitements of blank, which is one of the reasons why all you fuckers aren't successful at all whatsoever, because you keep looking for exciting things or motivating things instead of, I guess I just got to do shit things. That kind of idea, right? I'm also setting aside the idea of client results, okay? But again, big picture, this is the game plan. Wasim, I believe a lot of people can actually achieve this result. And it does not, from a technicality point of view, feel particularly difficult to understand because I am simplifying a lot of things. But again, big picture is you have your coach, whatever you want to call him. They get clients in the beginning. That's you. After your 10th or 15th client, you find the client journey, figure it out. You start to introduce group learnings to alleviate some of the stress. And then after a while, you'll hit a cap. Cool. You'll hit a cap. Cool. You hit a cap. Cool. Here's what I've discovered. For as this person right here, right? Most times they'll cap out again at like 30 clients. If you charge $30K for 6 months, that is a cool 1 million every 6 months of revenue. Can I do a 6 here? Wow, 6 months. So this very much feels like the head of partnerships or subject matter expert or department head or partner of like a law firm or consulting company. So his division brings $1 million every 6 months. So it's $2 million every year. Cool. That coach has got to get paid. Typically, the person who's on the revenue side gets paid a lot. So this person is usually going to be taking home 300,000. I'm going to see if I can write 300. 3? Nope. Wow. This person is usually going to take home 30 to 50%. I can't do threes. Wow, that's like really bad. 30 to 50% of revenue, depending upon the business structure. Some people will say, no, we got to take sales commission out and cost of acquisition, blah, blah, blah. Fine. So what they're really doing is 50% of net, right? Which is fine. Some people will say, nah, man, it's fine. Just do 30% and then we'll figure out the difference. That's fine, right? So typically the head coach who does their job very, very well can take on 30, 50%. So this is one of the reasons why coaches really enjoy working with companies who have this structure, because they can make $300,000 to $500,000 every 6 months. You can get amazing talent, right? The group learnings, AKA the coaching calls. Right now, I charge my client who's doing this $5,000 to $7,500 to do his calls. And I do 2 or 3 calls a week, depending upon. And then sometimes somebody's like, can you do a one-on-one? I was like, fine. And then like he pays me more and looks the other way. What does he care, right? So if you are particularly skilled as a subject matter expert and you are very, very good at your job, then you can get $5,000 to $7,500 a month for hosting 2 or 3 calls a week, right? So if we just do the high end, 7,500 divided by 4, that's $1,875 a week divided by 3. That's $600 an hour. And if you know how to have a group call with like 60 people, 40 people, 30 people, and everybody's like, damn, this is fucking good. You know how to talk and communicate. And you make $600 an hour right here. If you know how to keep people accountable and you're organized and you've got a fulfillment client-based structure, you can make $300,000 to $500,000 every 6 months. If you can think in this, you can make 50% to 70% of $1 million every 6 months times infinity. Crazy cool, ain't it? Right? That's one of the reasons why it's wildly important to have a strategy, to have an understanding, to have a big picture point of view. And if you can communicate like this, you'll be very, very attractive to the people who think like this. And those people tend to make more money than the individuals who get stuck in like fulfillment or technicalities or having like they have an emotional ADHD breakdown and don't read books. When was the last time you read a fucking book? You know what I mean? Who cannot communicate information clearly, but can only repeat data, right? Instead of having story and understanding. If you cannot have the philosophical approach of IBM in the 80s, which is I'm not hanging up until you hang up. I'm not hanging up until the problem is solved. And we solve it. I will write down documentation and then add it to your process and knowledge. If you cannot do that, you will not make $600 an hour. But if you can, you'll be so attractive to these individuals that they'll say, fuck it, I'm willing to pay $600 an hour for that really, really quick, right? So again, this is the general philosophy and the structure and the setup that I believe is going to take more people to $1 million a month. And I'll say it right here. This is going to become very, very frequent, very frequently, very quickly, with a lot of speed very soon. I'm talking like we're going to have more people doing $1 million a month like that you can talk to more consistently over the next 2 years because of this structure. And if you're not that person who can think this way, we're going to be finding that the people who are best in the business that want to do this will be making $300,000 to $500,000. And the people who are best at this will be making $625 an hour. This, by the way, is equivalent to like specialized knowledge and SME, a subject matter expert. Like they're very, 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 very good at one thing, right? This is the equivalent of lieutenants or middle managers or VPs who are very, 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 very good at client interfaces, client conversation, thing engagement manager. And then this person right here, who's in charge of all of this person is very, very good at big picture charts, graphs, that kind of stuff. And very often when I'm talking to my tax clients, I'm pushing them to do this, but they just want to sit here, make $600 an hour, not necessarily, big picture stuff. So I'm just going to say this as a whole. If you are in the tax space, like you are good at taxes, right? You spend $20,000 a month on advertising and you have a package of 5 to 10K. I want to implement this into your business, blow you up and take you to $1 million a month. Specifically for tax businesses, right? It will be challenging. It will be difficult, but damn, that's going to be one hell of a plaque. You know what I mean? So I think that brings the end to this lesson, possibly. So I appreciate Wasim for triggering the opening of this information. And I hope it was useful for most people to digest, read, and understand. Somebody says, will this be uploaded to YouTube? Correct. I have to download, re-upload it. That is right. And if there's any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or ideas, ask now, because I do have to run to a webinar and I'm already 10 minutes late for it. So I got about 5 minutes before I got to go. Balsimo says, where would I find these experts? Yeah, man, for most times, you can make a post on your socials. And, if you can tell people hey, I want to pay $250 an hour to get on Zoom with you, word will get around pretty quickly. I had a guy in Germany who's very, very good at Google Ads, and I paid him $1.80 an hour. And that was higher than what his job was paying him. And he was managing $1 million a month in ad spend. I was like, man, I just need you every now and then. What's your rate right now? He's like 75 euros. And I was like, great, I'm going to fucking double it. Pay you in USD. He's like, that's not the same. I'm like, I know, but do my math easy. He's like, okay, fine. So at the time, the exchange rate was close enough. And I paid him 180 USD an hour to talk to him once or twice a week. That's all I needed. Go on Zoom. He'd show me the buttons to click. Fantastic, right? So having a bench of people like that is probably very, very useful. Somebody says, Jeff, our IG is now our landing page. I got word with Meta showing my clients ads 60-70% on Facebook. Would you exclude Facebook placements? Not necessarily, because you can have your Instagram inside of a Facebook ad, right? And then they click it, they go to your Facebook. So it's not that big of a deal. If you want to, you can, but I don't think it's necessarily a challenge, right? Michael says, if you have any context, would you be willing to share? Yep. So if you just give me a DM on who you're looking for, I can make a post and then connect you guys. So there you go. So with that said, I got to boogie off, but this is the thoughts, feelings, and ideas. This is the structure of our client who's doing $1 million a month, probably going to start doing $2 million a month in 1 or 2 months from now. That's it. Peace out, everybody.